For this lesson, we're going to convert fractions to decimals and then decimals to fractions. So before we do that, let's just review place value. So there are two spaces in front of the decimal point. So the first one is going to be tens, and the second one represents ones. Then we're going to get into the decimal part, and the first one's going to represent tenths. The next one will represent hundredths, thousandths, and 10,000ths. Quick review on place value. All right, there are three strategies to convert fractions to decimals. Now the first one is of course the easiest strategy. If the denominator is a factor of 100, convert the fraction. Now, what do we mean by a factor of 100? That would mean that the denominator has to be a 2, 5, 10, 20, 25, or 50. Those are all factors that evenly go into 100. So, for example, I could have 7 over 20. 20 is a factor of 100, so I can convert this into a base of 100. 20 times 5 is 100. 7 times 5 is 35. So if I say that, that's why it's really important that you don't say 0.35 when you're talking about decimals. You have to put that into decimal form, and this would be 35 hundredths. So that would be 0.35. 35 hundredths. Say it just as it is written here. 35 hundredths. Okay, that would be the simplest one, strategy. The second strategy, you can make equivalent fractions. So if I had 4/8, now we know by looking at 4 and 8, 8 is not a factor of 100. So I can't do the same thing here with the scale factor as I did up above. I can't do to this example. So can I simplify it? Sure, I can divide both of these by 4, and that's going to give me 1 over 2. Now, is 2 a factor of 100? Yes, it is. So I can set up my equivalent fraction times 50 times 50. That would be 50 over 100, which is 50 hundredths. 50 hundredths. All right, and the third strategy, which is the way that I would always recommend that people use, if I have 5 over 8, I can't simplify that. It doesn't have a base of a denominator that is a factor of 100. So now you are going to divide. And this strategy always works. This strategy always works. So I'm going to take 5. I'm going to divide it by 8. I want you to put your decimal point there and your decimal point up on the line, a quotient line. I like to add 3 zeros. It'll help me with rounding. So 8 does not go into 5, but 8 goes into 50 6 times, and that would be 48. Subtract, and I would get 2. Bring down my 0. That would go in twice. So I'm going to subtract 16. That gives me 4. Bring that down, and that would be a 5. So this decimal is going to be 625 thousandths. All right. Now the other direction is going to go decimal to fraction. Now remember what we talked about on the first, remember what we talked about on the first page is we reminded ourselves of place value. Because as you say this number, that is how you will write it as a fraction. So my first example would be, and since no one's here to answer my question, we know that this is in the tenths place. So I would write this as 3 tenths. 3 tenths. If I have my other example, my next one, now we know that this is in the hundredths. So I would say that this is 52 hundredths. Now here's the thing, you must always simplify the fractions. So I would divide both of these by 2. 52 divided by 2 is 26. 100 divided by 2 is 50. They're still even, so I still should be able to divide those by 2. And I would get 13 over 25. Okay, so when you're going from a decimal to a fraction, just read the number as it states. 3 tenths, 52 hundredths, and that's how you would write it. Now if I have 6, I'm not going to say it yet, we know that this is the thousandths place. 6 is a whole number. 6 is our whole number. Now if we say this, 913 thousandths. 6 and 913 thousandths. Okay, that is the lesson.